once I started down the road of training them, I started to realize there's a lot of deficiencies, and you realize how much, like you said, where's the training in police work, right? Where is it? Well, most of the time it's on the job. Once you're in that car and you're driving around and you're learning, it's the worst kind of training in some ways, but you are being trained by backing up other police officers, and I realized the shortcomings.
You are now tuning in to the Relentless Project. Real people, real stories, real life.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Ish with the Relentless Project, and I'm here with Judd, founder of Know H.O.W Dynamics, law enforcement officer, all around good dude. I'm glad you're on the podcast. I always like to get a little background on people because it kind of gives people like a why am I listening to this guy kind of thing, right? Like in the law enforcement world, we all know you, we know of you, but like for people listening, they're like, who is this guy and why should I listen? So tell us a little bit about what got you into law enforcement. What was your calling, or was it just a job, or what got you into that first? And then we'll get into what led you to start Know H.O.W Dynamics.
All right. Yeah, I like that you call it a calling, because I really believe in law enforcement. There are people that get on the job and they're kind of like, it's just a job to them, where the ones that I work with where it's truly a calling, it's you can tell that stands out. And it's funny, growing up, it was just what I always wanted to do. Even graduating high school, I knew I should go to college, but I didn't know what to go to college for. I was nervous to go for criminal justice because of how much focus I had on being a police officer. And so I went for business because that's what my brother went for. And I went for business management, and I struggled in all the courses. Like, it was just, I didn't want to be there. And then I put my minor as criminal sociology. They let me kind of cater my minor. And as soon as I switched over to that minor, my GPA went way up. The classes I was just very invested in, very interested in, and it kind of like reinforced like this is what I want to do.
It's interesting when you want to do something, how well you'll be at it, mm-hmm. and when it's something you're kind of like forced to do, how bad you're at it.
Yep.
You know, and I think law enforcement has that light now, right? We got people who come in for the wrong reasons, and you can just tell by their demeanor how they approach situations and people and the job and how they talk about it. I truly believe, as corny as it may sound, you have to have a calling to do this, because you don't get paid enough to get pooped on, literally and figuratively. I'm sure you've been
there.
I was just on a call where I got, oh man,
yep.
Not even talk. Anyway, every decision you make is wrong to someone. It's wrong, flat out. You show up to help someone, you didn't help them the way they needed to be helped, or they wanted to be helped, or the way their family member perceived that help should be. You're always wrong, and
Yep.
you're never right. And it's, some people, with all the case law that comes out and how things change, and like policing is different today than it was 20, 30 years ago. And then you have the old heads. No offense. No,
I got you.
I got you. You know what I do for a living, right? I fight. No, but we have this frame of mind where like change is bad, right? But like law enforcement and policing is changing. The people are changing. The communities are changing. So we're forced to be dynamic in our approach. And some people like, why this was dumb? Why should I have to? So you have to have a calling to do this.
Yeah.
In my opinion. My calling was a lot late. Like growing up, I never wanted to be a police officer. That wasn't a thing. Like when I talk to people, I've always wanted to do it. I'm like, oh, fuck. Like I wonder what that fire is like. I do have that fire now, know. But one day I woke up, I was like, this is what I need to be doing. I can't do office work. I can't be stuck somewhere. I enjoy talking to people and helping people. For me, I love training. I love pushing myself. I love being at my best. I love the pressure that comes with performance, right? Like, I'm not an athlete. I loved athletics. I loved sports because you're a part of something bigger than yourself. And, if you slack, you're letting everyone down. As weird as that may sound, I love having that pressure of like, it's more than me.
Yep.
It's more than me. It's more than it involves a lot. So calling is definitely called for in this.
Well, you even said how much it changed in 20 years. In reality, how much has it changed in 4 years? The last 4 years have been insane in how much it's changed in different ways. I was just talking to an officer earlier today who said, we need supervisors on the job, his job, that are pre-COVID because of how much COVID changed policing. And that was eye-opening when he said it that way. I never thought of, it's changed a lot since then. So it kind of twisted that up.
It did. And there's also a bad light of like, some things change that aren't really changes in our world, but it's perceived as changes in the public eye. And then we have that disconnect. And the one thing I can think of is like search warrants, right? Like, you can never go into someone's car just to go into someone's car.
Yeah.
Like, that's been a law for a long time.
Yeah.
And then we get a new case law that comes out, and it's like, and if you want to search for this type of drug, you need a search warrant. And all cops are up in arms like, we need a search warrant. It's like, bro, we've always needed one.
Yep.
We've always needed one. At least that's been our practice.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're upset about that kind of worries me, because that tells me you were not doing that. So it's like, it's the same thing with the real estate industry. A lot of people don't know, like fixed commissions or standard commissions wasn't a thing, at least not since I've been an agent. Okay. And then the NRA, the National Association of Realtors, gets sued. All these changes start happening. It's like, you can't have a fixed commission. It's like, okay, it's never been, hasn't been a thing. You need to have conversations with your sellers about what you're charging them commission for. Okay, that's always been a thing. Like, I've never sold someone's house and been like, I'm going to tell you what you're going to pay.
Yeah.
It's always been a thing, but like, this comes out, and everyone who is not an agent or not in the industry, they're like, finally, like a win for the people. And it's like, all that's happened is shady agents have ruined the industry, and they've just given us more red tape that we have to work around for the same outcome, for the same procedures. Yeah. It's the same with policing. Like, bad cops, unfortunately, there are some, have ruined this image for the rest of us. And this is the same way we've, like, de-escalation. Mm-hmm. Well, we have to do de-escalation. Oh, de-escalation is stupid. Bro, anytime I come into a situation, the first thing I want to do is de-escalate.
That's what you should be doing.
Yeah, that's what you should be doing. Something if you're a good cop or a good officer, any law, that's the first thing you want to be doing.
Yeah.
And now it's like, finally, cops are de-escalating. No, we've been doing that. Just the YouTube videos you've seen have not shown that. So then now there's all this training. Oh, they're finally getting training. I've gone to de-escalation training since I've been a cop. I mean, I know it's not long, 9-10 years, but I've always gone to some form of de-escalation training. Yeah. And now it's like a big thing. So yeah, I don't know. I have like this borderline ADHD, and I kind of bounce around. So if any time, just be like, hey, come back.
I understand.
So you get into law enforcement. How was it from being on the outside looking in to finally being a part? Was it everything you thought it would be? Because when I came in, I had this calling of like, I need to make stuff right. Like, I've dealt with officers in a way that I didn't really appreciate it, and I've dealt with officers where I was like, this is the type of cop I want to be. Mm-hmm. So I came in thinking it was this like mess, and then I'm coming in and I'm dealing with these people. I'm like, oh, no, man, this is actually like, I love this. Yeah. Like, everyone has the same mentality. And my first department was an awesome department. Current department, also an awesome department. I've worked with partnering agencies where I'm like, I don't know how you guys even function the way you're going. But so outside looking in, I'm like, dude, this is a mess. And then I get in here and I'm like, dude, these are some of the best people I've ever met. Like, you're willing to die for someone you don't even know. Yep. That says a lot about a man and a woman. So how was that process or that expectation for you coming in? And then as you started doing the job, like, what'd you learn?
It was eye-opening because I always wanted to do it. So there was a ton of excitement to be able to get into the work. And prior to that, I'd worked so much at different jobs that were like hard jobs. I tell people, like, I started working in the summer of my 5th grade year. I started working full time at a place. It was crazy. Yeah.
Child labor? No.
Yeah. Yeah. My parents were tough. There was a guy that was friends with my family, and he offered us a job in the springtime on a Saturday, and we went down and did some work for him, me and my brother. And then that summer, I started working for him full time, having a 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. job. And the guy really cared about me. I never knew like how much he cared about me, but he cared about my brother and I. And his background, he actually was in the process to get ready to go to Buds back in that would have been probably the early 80s. So he had that mindset, and I saw it come out over time. But he understood, make someone quit or see how far you can push them. And he did that out of love and care for me. But I remember like being on his roof of his business, coating the roof. He waited till the hottest week in August, where the sun's beating down on you, the shine is coming up, burning you. But he just wanted to push that level to see where we were. And I look back at it, it was never in a vindictive at all, but it was hard work. So when I got into the police academy, I was just so excited that I was finally like on my path there. And then when I saw the first paycheck that I had, I was like, I can't believe they're paying me this much to do this. It was unbelievable because I had worked for, not that he didn't pay me well, it's just the money
he's
wasn't
paying
there.
you out of his pocket.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so when I was going through the academy and then also out of the academy and into police work, there was almost like a wide-eyed kid in a candy store. Like, this is the greatest. Like, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. This is unbelievable. So I didn't really have, I like the way that you said you came in almost like with a jaundiced eye, like, I'm going to fix this. Something's wrong with this. I looked at it as, this is the greatest job in the world. But I did see certain things. I picked up very quickly, like, I like how this officer handles things. I don't like how this officer handles things. There's a reason I'm a police officer. I'm not smart. Like, and so I have to pick up from people.
You can't be making us look bad, bro.
Yeah, there's a reason why. I always say, like, my brother and my sister, they got the brains. I got the stubbornness and a little bit of the strength. But I pick up very quickly on watching other people, what they do and what I like and don't like. And so I had a supervisor out of the academy that was an excellent supervisor, great guy that would always be there for his guys. And I took a lot from him. I learned a lot from him and how he treated people. I remember being on the first call I've ever seen him like get stern with somebody. And I'm like, whoa, that was, and you could see like it put the fear of the person, right?
What took
to push him that far?
To push him that far, yeah.
Because he was always just so calm during everything and just had a smile on his face when he was working and enjoyed it. But then I saw like, okay, he was tough on the person, but then he let the person go. He could have been the traffic Nazi and wrote the guy all sorts of tickets and run that up. But he realized like, hey, my way of dealing with this was putting the fear of God in you for a minute and then letting you on your way. And I took a lot from that. And then there was also 2 other guys. I still work with them today, but I worked with them on a regular basis. And I learned a ton from them, how they interacted, their thought process on things. And it was always good to come back. We would come back after situations that happened, and we would have a little bit of like a AAR, an after action report that we would like, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? And still to this day, if I'm on something with them, we'll pick each other's brains and feed off of that.
So, a lot of people don't do that.
Yep.
It blows my mind.
Yeah.
You know, I'm that type of dude. I work with a few people, a lot who are like that too. And you know, even before, like we'll hit a rally point. We're like, all right, boom. This is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm feeling. Boom, 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 boom. They're like, well, let's do this. Boom, boom, boom. Well, what about this? And we're like 5 minutes to brainstorm.
Yep.
And then we go. We assess, we deal with it, and then we come back after everything's good, and we're like, hey, like this is where the communication kind of dropped off. Like we do that brainstorming, that after action report, the debriefing, whatever you call it, and that's so beneficial because you're Monday night quarterbacking every situation for a good purpose, right? Like you love those people like you messed this up, you did this, or you should have done this, and then that's where they leave it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, what did we gain from that? Nothing. You know, but I'm one of those dudes. I watch like these YouTube videos, and I'll break it down, I'll dissect it. I'm like, okay, how could this have been approached differently? How can this, you know, what else could have been done? Especially with like DT. I'm a big DT guy. Oh, I'm also into firearms. I'm one of our instructors, but like my bread and butter is hands-on stuff. I mean,
I got you.
I'm sure you.
I felt it.
Yeah,
I felt it.
So I was like trying to remember. I was like, who was the dude I pinned up against the wall? Or against the car wall, and it wasn't you. It was, I forget who it was, but I think it was you or someone said like, "Hey, principal, take up space."
Yeah.
I'm like, that's my specialty.
Been eating all this time, buddy.
Dude. Yeah, finally it comes to play, and I was so exhausted.
Yeah.
That I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give him my back, and whoever I was talking to was like, "No, that's okay in this situation.
Yeah.
Like you're not on a mat on an open field and like." In an enclosed space, that may be okay because you can just smash them into the wall. And I'm like, dude, I stuff like thinking like that. I don't even know how I got
Back
there.
to your DT.
Yeah, so DT is a big thing of mine. So, you know, if you know, could we have gone hands-on? Maybe hands-on wasn't the best approach, right? Like a lot of officers now rely on the tools on their belt because they're not comfortable going hands-on. So maybe you show up to a house and a guy comes out to you talking, and you pull your gun and start yelling commands, like that may not be the best situation if no weapon was ever involved. Mm-hmm. You just escalated it to another level. Yeah. You know, maybe you stopping, taking a step back. Hey, bro, hold on, chill out. Like, what's going on? Maybe that would. So I'm always trying to debrief to learn, right? And then we have the officers who do it better than anyone, and they just shit on everyone else who does it.
Can't tell them anything.
Yeah, I don't work with guys and girls like that, but we've all worked with people like that. So, you see some things you like, you see some things you don't like. What got you? What pushed you to want to do more? Because this is, I'm gonna call it an industry for the lack of a better term. In this industry, we see a lot of people who come in, they do their time, and they leave. And I mean, I hate when people approach it like that because there's so much you can do in this. You want to get into bomb squad, you want to get into a specialty, you want to get into SWAT, you want to get into canine. There's so many things you can do to build yourself and help your department.
Yeah.
But oftentimes that's not what happens. You've gotten into a few niche specialties. Like, what was that calling for you? It's like a calling on a calling, right? Because now you're doing law enforcement, which is a small percentage of people in this country, and now you're diving deeper into that.
Yeah.
What was that for you? Why?
I always wanted to do police work. And then when I got out of college, I started at a boxing gym real close to where I live now, in Plumboro. It's a boys boxing gym. Give them a shout out.
Hey.
But I started there because I never knew how to fight. I would avoid, like, not that I wanted to fight, but I would when I would get in fights, I never liked how I felt afterwards. And I didn't feel comfortable doing it. And so therefore I just was like, I need to learn how to. And to me, boxing was fighting. This was very early stages of like UFC stuff. So I really wasn't going that route. To me, it was always, Mike Tyson was the man. And he still is. Yeah, he still is. But at the time, to me, it was boxing. Let me get into boxing. And through some friends, I heard about this boys boxing gym. And I started going there, learning some stuff. But I remember the one time walking into the gym, and there's like a split of boxing side and weight room side. And I was in the weight room side, and I come out, and there was this dorky looking guy, and he's shadow boxing. He's wearing a big like extra large sweatshirt that was like sagging on him, soaked in sweat, and he's wearing glasses while he's shadow boxing. And he's just not, to me, was not like an impressive figure. I just was like, well, this is kind of he's an older guy, he's dorky. And I was a 23-year-old, thought I was a stud and knew everything. And then like a couple of days later, I see him at the gym again, and he now doesn't have a sweatshirt on. He's just wearing like a white t-shirt. And you could see every muscle on this dude. He was shredded. And I'm like, okay, now that's got my respect a little bit. And then the one day he walked in, and he had on a shirt that said SWAT team, and it was for my department that is now my department. At the time it wasn't. And I'm like, all right, that's something I've always wanted to do. And so he probably hated wearing that shirt because I never let him like work out after that. I was always picking his brain. Great guy though, unbelievable, super helpful and stuff. And it just kind of was a driven thing for me. I want to do SWAT. That's something that to me was like kind of like at the time, like a pinnacle aspect. Like if you could be on a SWAT team, growing up, my dad always talked to it. Like, it's about the team. It's about the team. And I never realized how much it was, like we were just talking about, after action reports. That's teamwork. Never really thought of it that way. To me, the SWAT team was team. So I was very focused on getting onto that for that aspect. And I kind of was, I don't know, I've always seen how my dad works, and my dad always just did whatever job came up. Like, he just was there to always be there. There was nothing to me that my dad couldn't do. So I kind of thought the same thing. So when I got on my department, I did everything. I did motorcycle, I did horses, everything I could.
Horses?
Yeah.
Dude, that'd be the mounted unit.
Yeah, I was on the mounted unit.
Dude, I'd be like this walking around. Back up, peasants.
No, it was neat. There was some fun things about it. That was a fun experience, especially the Steelers celebrations. I remember those ones. Being down there go Steelers.
I'm not even a Steelers fan. Oh, I just got canceled.
Uh-oh.
I watched them. I'm a Falcons fan, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they smashed us the first game.
Yeah.
It happens. You win some, you lose some.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Are you from Atlanta?
No. I went to basic in Atlanta.
Okay.
So that was
some sort of attachment.
Yeah, I was a big Vic fan before. Well, let me caveat, before everything. I'm like, he was just such a dynamic player.
Unbelievable.
Like, he can run. Sort of throw, but like I always loved the quarterbacks who just like, I'm taking it and did their thing like that. That was fascinating to me, so that's why I jumped into that. But being in the Yinsburg, I gotta rep the Steelers. I gotta support it.
Yeah, but no, it was the mounted unit was fun. Those were fun experiences. The motorcycle experiences were terrifying. When I look back at how I was on it, I'm glad I did a lot of dirt bike riding prior to, because you did some sketch stuff on it.
You ever seen like the bike, not the like bicycle, but the motorcade or the motor cops, the videos on
the competitions?
On dude.
That's unbelievable.
I'm like,
that ain't me.
I can't do that on a bicycle, or let alone on such a big bike. Like, it's crazy.
No, it's amazing. And that's where, those were some fun times, but I did whatever I could. And you start to see that where the people that are involved in the guys on my team, a majority of the guys on my team are also detectives, are also like, they're doing a ton of different things. They're very involved in everything.
Active, involved, yeah. And that goes, and you see how people approach the job when they're involved in things, and then you see how people approach the job when that's it. Like, you show up, you're on patrol, and if that's what you want to do for your career, there's nothing wrong with that. But I've seen a lot of like, I want this because I deserve it. Yeah. I've had X amount of time on here.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what are you doing to go above and beyond to earn this? And that's where you want to know who has the biggest, the most fragile egos? Cops.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You tell a cop to run, hey, go do that traffic detail. Why doesn't Junior go on? Why? It's like, bro, just go fucking direct traffic. Just go direct traffic.
Yeah.
You're here for 8 hours or 12 hours, whatever your department. You're here for 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
What's the matter? Go do it. You're getting paid for 12 hours. Go get 12 hours worth.
Yeah.
But I'm the weird dude. I'll be directing traffic. I'm like dancing and stuff. I'm like, hey, like, people look at me like, dude, are you okay? I'm like, I don't know. I'm working on that. Yeah.
That's still debatable.
Yeah, that's always debatable. I like to get punched in the face for fun. So there's some to that. So you're involved in all this stuff, and what you became like, you even dove into it deeper, right? Like you become a cop, cool. Now you're involved in teams, cool. Then you start to like dive into those teams. Which one of those teams did you find most fruitful for you personally? Like being involved in, like let's say, between the mountain unit, the motorcycles, SWAT. Like which team did you feel more like attached to? More like it was your calling, and you were able to pull more from?
SWAT, 100%. That's what it was. Just the aspects of it. Really just I liked all the different parts of it that were involved in it, and understanding. It just drove me. I don't know why that fire was there, but it was just a driving factor in kind of where I went with stuff. In some ways, early on, back to the academy. In the academy, I realized the SWAT is more the training to me. I feel that we train on average 2 days a month for SWAT all year. I feel that every officer should train those 2 days a month, every single officer, whether they're SWAT or not. I feel that that's what, and so SWAT should train more. And so in the academy, I realized there was some things that finally, like, I grew up like watching martial arts, and I like believed in the McDojo life stuff that he puts on. I bought into that, like, oh, that dude can do amazing things. And and in the academy, they taught us the pressure point concept that they teach all the different police. And I'm like, all right, this is uncomfortable, but it doesn't really hurt. And in fact, myself and a couple other guys really frustrated the instructor for it that was coming in, because he was full wholesale on it.
For some reason, I think we had the same instructor.
I'm pretty sure we did. And
let that be a note.
Yeah. And he was putting on the different pressure points, and I'm like, yeah, it's uncomfortable, but it's not going to make me stop what I'm doing. If I was really wanting, I'm sitting in a chair. If I'm sitting here and all of a sudden you put that on me, I don't want to feel that, so I'll get up out of the chair. But if I'm really fighting you, that's not going to work. And there was a sheriff deputy who worked at the academy, and he brought in a guy from the jail. I remember his name, Ijams, and he showed us, Sergeant Ijams showed us some jiu-jitsu stuff. And
When was this?
2006. Yeah, 2006.
Dude, that's cool.
Yeah.
Because like I'm seeing jiu-jitsu penetrate.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Gotta keep it interesting. Penetrate law enforcement now. Actually, that's probably not the best terminology, but it's starting to infiltrate law enforcement now, and more cops are starting to train jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So like it's cool to see like this was kind of dabbled in already years ago. Like,
yeah, he brought him in
ages ago.
He brought him in, but it was only like stop, bro.
Hey, okay.
No, sometimes it depends on the morning. Some of the mornings I'm like, man, this one hit hard. But with him bringing Ijams in, it was only a couple of days through the whole academy. We did defensive tactics, but it was like the very scripted, to handcuffing, very compliant. But when Ijam showed some jiu-jitsu stuff, to me, I was like, that works. Like that's controlling me. That's actually working. And that's where I started to realize like there was a lot of holes in the training. Like police training is like a grinding machine that just like is so slow to improvise and move forward. And that's where, so I sought that out. And that's where, to me, SWAT was a little bit faster paced, like towards the training. I was training more and I was really involved in that. So that to me was that's what I want to do. SWAT, follow that path. So. And
I'm glad you said that, because when I would look at officers, when I wasn't one, I'm like, what? Like, I don't think I could ever be one. What does it take to be, someone like that, right? Like, they have to know everything. They have to be able to defend themselves, defend others. They're the last people to show up before a problem is taken care of, right? Like, if I can't handle it myself, I call a friend or family. If they can't handle it, who do you call, right? 911.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, okay. You expect it to just be handled, right? And every situation and is dynamic. Every situation is different. From a raccoon at your front door who doesn't want to leave, yes, we get those, to a dude holding your child or your loved one hostage in a house and not letting them go. You have to be able to deal with both situations, sometimes in the same day.
Yep.
So then I become a cop and I realize, like, man, like, when does the training start? I get out of the academy. When does the training start? Oh, I scheduled you for a training next week. Cool. It's updates. I just got out of the academy. What am I updating? Oh, we're going to go over sensitivity training. Okay, cool. Like, okay. Like, I'm a human being. I have compassion, but sure. Then the next one was like autism awareness. I'm like, okay, like, that's important. Like, how to deal with those situations. Never been involved in those. Then the next, it's like, when do we learn how to control someone?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, worst case scenario, if I don't know how to talk to someone, yeah, that's bad. But, like, doesn't really, like, you don't like me and I don't like you and we go our separate ways, okay.
Yeah.
If I can't control someone, I just gave you access to all these tools you gave me. All these tools that are meant to help me now become theirs. And my first year, I was like, man, like, there is no training involved. And the department I was with was heavy on training.
Yeah.
Just, you had to be a part of a team. They trained.
Yeah.
But, like, everyone else was just like, hey, like, and I went to the gym, I did stuff like that. But, like, there was nothing like, hey, this is our expectation of you. You need to be in shape. You need to be eating well. There's none of these expectations on officers today. And it blows my mind.
It's crazy.
When's
the last time you had to do a fitness test?
So our department does them. I'm actually doing one tomorrow.
Awesome. Good.
I'm in recovery.
Well, yeah, I know
so,
your
like,
knee.
I'm going to still do, like, they're like, we have modified. I'm like, oh, what's that mean? You're going to kill me. Those are going to try to just destroy me. Yeah. It's like, I maxed out our push-ups last year. I had like 76. And you have to, like, go down. Out,
hand release.
Hand release push-ups. Dude, that's my specialty. Then there's a shuttle run. I'm like, I definitely ain't maxing that out. So, like, and that's the thing. There's so much red tape that our department does it as like it's a voluntary thing. Yeah. It's not mandatory. You don't have to do it. And if you do it, you get 2 hours of comp. And then based on your performance, you can earn up to 8 hours.
That's awesome. I'm with you, but that's something that I've thought, like, all departments should have something where on a percentage, like, look, you can get a day off if you hit this percentage. You can get a second comp day if you hit this percentage. This is the third percentage. At a certain point, you have to set it up, I guess, somewhat like that. But we both know cops that will do anything for a day off.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like they show up. They half-ass this workout because minimum they get 2 hours. Mm-hmm. I want to leave early. I get 2 hours. I don't even have to do my best here. There's no, like, you want to keep this job, do it. Yeah. Because then there's, well, I'll sue or well, you have to give me allocated time on shift. It's like, why don't you just go train? Yeah. If you know this, if you know your life depends on it, your teammates' lives depend on it, and the people you took, and it sounds good, took an orthopedic, but you took an oath. Mm-hmm. Right, you're doing and I always tell them, people get upset with me because I'm just very direct. Like, I've told people, like, this, you're not cut out for this job. Mm-hmm. Like, go get a 9 to 5. You want to be home every day with your family. So does every other cop, okay? So does every other person in the working world. This industry, you may get called in. You may have to work holidays. Like, if your priority is your family, that is okay.
Yeah.
That is okay. This isn't your job. Because unfortunately, you have to put the priority to the job at hand right now.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know if you heard about a couple situations. I won't get too specific because then people will be able to Google it. But we were just involved in some stuff. And, like, you can't be like, man, I got juniors baseball practice. And no, right now, this person depends on you to be here. This is your priority. Your family, second. Everything, second. Right now, this. And if you can't do that, that's fine. Like, it sounds messed up. And it's, well, my family's first. I get it. Like, I love my family. Mm-hmm. But, like, when I'm working, that is my priority.
Well, you have to compartmentalize.
You have to, yeah, that word that I can't say. I speak two languages. Compartmentalize. Got it.
There you go.
But, like, that's how extreme you have to be, right? So when I train, any training, I'm in the gym lifting. I'm lifting like my life depends on it. Sometimes, some days are lazier than others. When I'm training jiu-jitsu, training like my life depends on it. Mm-hmm. When I'm doing vehicle extractions or like, I train like my life depends on it. Some of the people joke like, "Damn, dude, why are you going so hard?" And it's like, bro, because this is the only place I can.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have friends I can be like, hey, can we go fight in your car? Like, that'd be cool. But, like, I don't have that.
Yeah.
I don't have a car park that I can just mess around with and chill. Like, I don't have that. So when I'm in an environment that I'm able to do that, I'm going to go as hard as I can. You know, being safe and all that. Like, some guys, oh, can we take an easy one? Yeah, next one. Not this one, though. Yeah. You know, when you're in firearms, when I'm in firearms training, I like the whole stand, point, shoot. But we don't even do that in our department anymore. Like, we do the qualification, but, like, we have tack shoots. We just shot into a car, seeing how rounds react through sheet metal, through glass, through the pillars. Like, we're constantly trying to push the line, and I'm very fortunate that I work for a department like that.
Yeah.
Not everywhere does that, you know. We have people who train jiu-jitsu on their own, and we have people who get upset that we have a grappling club. Guess what? It's open to everyone.
Yeah, anyone can
And guess what? You get 2 hours of comp time if you show up. Guess how many people have showed up?
But I'm guessing
4.
Okay. Yeah.
Usually 4.
And that's the thing. Like, when you realize how much, when you don't do jiu-jitsu or any type of grappling in general, when you don't do it, you don't realize how much it helps you in all different areas. And how difficult it is to control somebody. And there's that, you know, we always call them the pig piles. There's always like all these police officers that are there to help you, but there's times where you might be by yourself, and knowing how to do it. There's a training that I was a part of where I was the bad guy on multiple occasions, and people would come through a door almost like it was a high risk warrant that they were serving, and they would come through the door, and where I would sit as they would come through the door once it was blown open, I would see every single person coming in, and where I was sitting, I was just watching them come through the door, and it was wild because of my tactical experience and my jiu-jitsu experience. I could tell every single officer, they've done this before, they haven't. They have experience, they don't, as they're just entering through the door. Then as they were getting closer to me to put me in handcuffs, take me into custody, I could tell this dude's grappled before. This guy hasn't. This guy's grappled. And you could pick that up by vision. In fact, I had one where the one guy came up, and he's a police officer in this area. But he came up, and I could tell, like, he knows what he's doing a little bit. And before I had a chance to fight him, he had me in a full-out Kimura on my left arm, just locked up, total control of my left arm. And he had a partner helping him out. Well, I was not worried at all about the partner. I was trying to get this Kimura back so I could give this guy a fight. And he held that Kimura, had me fully locked up, and his partner is doing the pressure point behind the ear, driving it into my neck.
And that just pisses you off.
And I just looked at him, and he's like, he's like, give up, or whatever, when he was yelling. And then at one point, he's like, how do you like that? I'm like, oh, you can push it harder. Like, I'm okay with this because this is what's controlling me right now. I'm worried about this. The pressure point did nothing. And it was very, like, instant, like, jiu-jitsu works.
So when I went through the instructor portion of this, because, you know, for the DT instructor, you need to do the state class, and then you need to do the state's instructor class,
Yeah.
a bunch of, which I guess, sure. So I'm going through the instructor version of this pressure point stuff. And this is the environment where you challenge things, right?
Yeah.
Like, if I'm teaching this, I need to believe in it. And this is the first one that the state was like, this is the one you got to go through. So I'm like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
And I'm with this instructor, and he's like, oh, I forget what he said. Like, I can get you to release this. I'm like, I don't think you can. Like, and I hate to be that guy, but like, he was so like smug and egotistical. I'm like, I don't think you can. Like, if I grab you, I don't think you can.
Yeah.
And that's like the door to like, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Like, give me buy-in.
Yeah.
As an instructor, you know, when I teach at the academy, I love when cadets are like, I don't think this will apply. Cool. Let's try it, right? And I had this one dude was tall. He was like a strong dude, and I'm like, I may have to work a little bit on this one. And it was like little sweeps we're doing, little tripod sweeps. He's like, I don't think this will work in the real world. Can you show me? For sure. I'm like, absolutely. I'm like, this is the way this is the situation, right? I'm pinned up against a wall, and you're gonna run onto me because you want to fuck me up. I was like, try to fuck me up. I was like, we won't do punches. Smack my face. Like, and he's looking at me. He's like, I have permission to smack. Yes, you have permission to smack my face. I'm like, okay, let's go on the mat though. He's like, well, you want to do it on the mat? I'm like, we're gonna need to do it on the mat. So I'm there, and he just, you know, because they're cadets, so they don't really train a lot. A lot of these people don't train jiu-jitsu. They get introduced to it in the academy. And he literally puts himself in the position for a good tripod sweep, and I just rip it. Dude hits so fucking hard, I feel bad. And like, I wanted to prove a point, but like, he didn't try to defend it at all.
Yeah.
Hits, gets up, he's like, literally claps, looks at everyone, he's like, this works. He's like, this works. And I'm like, you know, and I help him up. I'm like, okay, so like, can you see how this can apply and stuff? But like, that's, as an instructor, that's your perfect opportunity to go. You're getting checked. Let your ego aside. Practice what you preach. Show it in action. Like, if you don't have that test, what do we call it?
Pressure test.
The pressure testing. You don't have that pressure testing. You're teaching a facade. So I literally grab his wrist, and he does the old hit on my forearm. Dude, I got meaty ass forearms. Not to talk myself up or anything. He hits it, and like, yeah, it sucks. It hurts. I get a little spike. He hits it again. And then dude just kicks my shin. And I'm like, fuck, dude, ow. And I like let go. I'm like, what the fuck was that? He's like, told you I can get you to let go. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, no. And like, I'm talking with like, I had other people from my department there. We all took it together. And I'm like, I was like, if I wanted to, I would have just smacked him.
Yeah.
Like, I let go because I was just like, what are we doing?
Yeah, why'd you do that?
Yeah,
More
like we're
yeah.
like, what are we doing? I was like, I didn't let go because, and then he's telling the class, he's like, see, perfect example. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's where the concepts of it. The other thing I try to tell anytime I teach cadets, I'm not even angry. I'm not like, think of what it like. I've walked through some stuff in some boxing matches and stuff with adrenaline where you're shocked at what you don't feel. So you felt that because you're in the middle of instructing. You have no adrenaline really going. Yeah, you're involved in it, but you're not like wholesale, like, this is my life that you're about to take away from me. So yeah, it works. But when it comes time to it, when we put hands on somebody and you feel that like instant and you're like, oh, here we go. I'm taking their freedom away from them. Their willingness to fight at that point. They're not feeling those kicks. They're not feeling those punches that you think. You have to literally physically take control of their body and make it not be able to move by locks and stuff like that.
That's a good way. That's exactly it. What you end up doing in these situations, even with punches, right? Like, punches are effective. There are times that they're effective. But what you're doing is their adrenaline's already spiked, right? Because like if you train, your adrenaline is more controlled. You are a more controlled person when you're coming into a situation. For example, if you've never been in a fight before and a dude comes up to you and goes, fuck you, I'll fuck you up. You're immediately, your heart's racing, you're sweating, you're scared, you're backing up because what is this?
No.
If you've been in 1,000 UFC fights and some dude comes up to you, fuck you, you're going to be like, all right, what the fuck did I do to you?
Yeah.
Like, you're just there and like, you're not even bothered because you know what you contain. You know what you bring to the table. And you know you're well equipped to deal with most situations. That doesn't mean I know I can take you. I know I can defend myself to a point that it's probably not going to get to death.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you don't have that, you're scared, you know? And that when we talk about translating to other areas in our life, like jiu-jitsu, if approached appropriately, or any grappling or martial arts, instills this confidence in you, right? When you see cops show up, you can tell if they train when they show up and dude's all worked up and he's like, hey, bro, what's going on, man? Talk to me. Talk to me. Talk to me. And you get another guy, get your hand on the fucking ground. Get your hand on. And you're like, who the fuck am I? I'm worried about my partner having a heart attack right now, and I'm worried about this dude right now. So now I'm worried about two different people. Yeah. And I'm like, bro, do not reach for your gun. You just relax. Oh, he's going to reach for his gun? And like, it's just, it creates this tension, right? But when you train and you're confident in yourself, I don't even know how I got into this point, but you're better equipped, right? So people think, I don't need to train. Oh, that's why we have a taser. When your taser fails, then what?
Well, yeah, when it fails, or through boxing, I started from the gym. I started going to different gyms, trying them out, see what I could get. And one of the places I went to, there was a guy who was a state champ, Golden Gloves boxer, borderline crazy, little bit off his rocker, and just a great boxer, extremely good boxer. And
I don't know why I know exactly who you're talking. Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Ish, and welcome to the Relentless Project, where we dive deep into the stories of those who push boundaries and break limits. I just want to take a second to shout out a few companies who've believed in me. These were one of our first official sponsors, so huge shout out. Today's episode is proudly sponsored by Carbo Jewelers, established in 1997 on the values of honesty and integrity. Whether you're searching for the perfect piece, need expert repair services, visit Carbo Jewelers in Newark's Ironbound District, where your jewelry is always in safe hands. This episode is also brought to you by Continental Jewelers, proudly serving Hudson County, New Jersey since 1964. Whether you're seeking a timeless piece or need expert repairs, they've got you covered. Visit Continental Jewelers, your trusted source for all things jewelry. You can find them on Instagram at Carbo Jewelers or online at carbojewelers.com. Lastly, big shout out to Carbo Trading. Besides coins, precious metals, and jewelry, if it could be traded and collected, he's probably got it. They can be found on Instagram at carbo.trading. You can find all of our sponsors out online on our sponsor page at therelentlessproject.com. Now, this week's episode.
And so then we went to, when I was in uniform, I was at South Park in that area, and I went to, there's a boxing gym out there, and I stopped in one day in uniform just to see those guys because I know them loosely. And this kid was there at the gym, and he comes up. I'm in uniform, trying to stay clean. He's soaked in sweat, no shirt on, has his six-pack, and he comes up and he starts rubbing his six-pack on my arm because he knew me from other, like I wasn't just a police officer showing up. He knew me, and he's rubbing his like sweaty stomach on my arm. And I'm like, all right, bro, back up. And he was cool. Everything was good. But I know that if I would say something to him negative or put him into a situation, I'm getting my head knocked off. Like, he was a very good boxer. So when I went back to my station, I told the guys, listen, if you pull this car over, if you ever, just in case, it's that after action, or that, just so you know, if you ever pull this kid over, be very careful. He's on edge. He's kind of, we all know there's fighters that want to fight. And I said, just be careful. And I can't tell you how many guys were like, I'll just shoot him. Like, you're not even going to get your gun out, and you're going to have 15 punches to your face, and you're not going to remember what's going on. If you don't ever put yourself in those situations, if you don't ever go as in your level of jiu-jitsu, if you never go against a black belt that just moves you at ease, you don't realize like how vulnerable you are. And so that's where like that training needs to happen, because, you know, for all the time that I was boxing and sparring, if you put me in against your boy Devin to just spar, I can tell you that my shoulders are going to be pulling back, and I'm going to be getting tight, and I'm going to be like, oh my goodness, what's about to happen?
Yes.
And that's me sparring on an okay regular basis. I probably shouldn't do it so much, but I wish CTE wasn't a real thing, or I'd do it a lot more.
That explains Devin, by the way. I love it, dude. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Now he's about to fight me. Damn. Don't listen to this.
But if you don't get a chance to know what getting punched in the face to where things are going black, then the lights are coming back on, then the lights are going off, and having to figure out how to work through that, you're going to, you know, it's going to be a rough day.
And yes. Like, and that's why I love training jiu-jitsu or martial arts, because you're putting yourself in these uncomfortable environments willingly, right? And now when you go on the road, and unfortunately if you do get put into them, it's like, I've been here before. I've felt this, right? Like, have someone lay on you for 30 seconds. And I always say that because when I started training jiu-jitsu, nothing was happening. They weren't going for attacks. So I had a bigger dude, bigger than me, I know, crazy, lay on me, dude. And I started to psych myself, I can't breathe, right? And I'm telling myself, I'm like, no, I can breathe, but I have never been put in that situation, so I start to freak out, panic sets in, and then next thing you know, and this is why I say, like, you got to be careful how you approach people, because putting a pressure point on someone and just giving them pain when they're freaking out can cause this. I get so fucking frustrated, and where I literally just grab the dude and toss him.
Yeah.
Which I was trying to do the entire time, but I was set in such a panic mode that I was able to do that. That fight or flight kicked in of a dude just laying on me. Now imagine 6, 7 cops dogpiling. One's punching, one's kicking, one's pulling my arm, one's telling me, show me your hands, the other one's saying, put your hands behind your back. All this stuff is happening. How do you feel what do you think that person's going through right now? They're in fight mode, survival mode. They're not even like, they're the police, let me chill and relax, because they're in literal survival mode. Mm-hmm. And that's what people need that's why you should train, because you'll be better able to control this person in a way that they're not harmed, right? Like if you put someone in a Kimura without actually applying it, you have their arm locked. To them, they're like, dude, what are you doing? Hey, bro, chill, relax. Like, don't fight it. Don't fight it. If you fight it, it's gonna hurt. Don't do it. Like, and now you can have that. You can still have that conversation. You're not worked up. You're not out of breath. You're sitting here, or you have someone in mount, right? And you have their arms pinned, and you're looking at them like, bro, what are we doing here? Relax. Like, that's your opportunity to, like, you can still de-escalate. You have a dog pile happening. Hey, guy, relax.
Yeah,
I'm trying to, but I got 5 guys beating the fuck out of me. And we see those videos. That's why training helps with that. And I've heard that before. I'll just shoot them, and dude, my skin crawls. Because I'm like, I know you don't mean that. I know it's a joke. But let's entertain it.
Yeah.
Are you willing to lose your career, your family, everything, because you just refuse to go to the gym for 1 hour a week and learn how to control a human?
Yeah.
Is that not worth it to you? 1 hour a week. And we have a gym, we have mats. I tell people, okay, let's try that. Shoot me, okay? We'll go. So, not many of them want to entertain it, but the ones who do, they don't even get their gun out.
Yeah.
And I get it. I train, but how many guys at your gym do you train with that aren't cops?
Oh,
You think these dudes just sit in their house playing video games? Most of them do. I've learned that. I don't know why video games and jiu-jitsu is like a correlation, but like these people walk around.
Yeah.
These people also experience bad days.
Yep.
Everyone does.
Yeah.
When I get to a call and I see a dude with cauliflower ear, I'm like,
yep.
What's up, bro? I understand you. You understand me, right?
That's what I always said. Like if you take, so the car fight that we were in. So Sean Lupka put that on.
Yeah, good dude.
Very good dude.
Phenomenal. I gotta get him
Anti-fragile
on.
training.
Yeah,
Give him a plug.
anti-fragile training.
But I've always told people, like, if you took, now obviously he's black belt in jiu-jitsu, right? But if you take him and don't let him say that, if he just says, I do combatives, right? Keeps it normal. I do combatives. And you put him in like a tassel cap and his glasses on and stuff like that. So you don't
say the
see,
word. Say it.
Say, like a hipster type
Dork.
thing, right? Dork.
Like a
right?
dork. No, don't kill me.
Yeah, well, you don't have to go against them. I have to go against them weekly. But you put a tassel cap on him and his glasses on, and he comes in, and if he just says, he does his daily job, and I also do combatives. And I come in and I say, like, I've been a police officer since this long, still a police officer. I'm on a SWAT team. I do combatives. People are like, give me that, dude. I know that. And I'm like, this guy will mess you up. Like, it's insane because, and thankfully, he doesn't have a desire to hurt people. But the amount of, like, the times that, like, I've teased him while we're grappling and he locks me up, drags me over to the camera where I'm recording and taps me out right in front of my camera or talks to it while and I'm literally trying to stop it, and it's not happening.
He's dragging you. You're holding on to him.
Oh my goodness, it's insane. And that's where trying to explain to police officers, like, first off, what am I allowed to just shoot, right? So you're going to shoot this boxer just because I said he could maybe knock your head off very quickly. Like, you have to know when are you allowed to do that? And that's why I like what you said. Like, you can't just shoot. And so for me, if I'm dealing with Sean, and let's just say Sean's having an off day, and I push those buttons, and he just has that moment where I'm done. I'm done with this dude. He's so close, I'll never get that gun out. Never get that gun out. And so my whole argument of I'll just shoot him is off the table instantly.
If we're talking, you are fully justified to do it right now. Good luck.
Yep.
Like, he's taking it.
Yep.
Because that's another thing. Like, if you can't control him and he can control you, he can control everything you brought there.
Yep.
So you can at least anticipate one gun being in every fight you encounter as a police officer.
Yeah.
And your argument of, I'll just shoot. Now, the next thing, are you justified to? Unfortunately, sometimes you may be, because you don't train and you're getting your fucking teeth kicked in.
Yeah.
And then you have to go home that day knowing you killed an unarmed man, although lawfully justified, because you couldn't fight.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that? Where if you would have spent an hour in a gym, you ever heard of the Adopt a Cop? I'm sure you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stupid question. But
No, you're good.
for those who don't know, it's an organization that you pay $50, and a lot of gyms are affiliated with this. So they knock the price down to $50 a month. You pay your gym $50. They reimburse you $50 so long as you check in 1 day a week. And the majority of jiu-jitsu classes are 1 hour.
Yeah.
4 hours a month. Free training. Up until you're a blue belt, which statistically shows you're better trained than the majority of people, and you can defend yourself adequately. Mm-hmm. Adequately. Nothing crazy, but you can defend yourself. That changes your life in law enforcement. And I have conversations with people like, oh, jiu-jitsu, it's sweaty. Okay, if a dude starts to fight you, you're going to be, bro, it's sweaty. I don't want to fight you, it's sweaty. Like, we have a job, and I'm a very, like, I get deep with stuff and, like, very passionate, because I truly believe training is so important. Especially, I think everyone should do it. You're a suburban mom with 2 children, you should fucking be training, because guess what? When you're out shopping with your kids, it's on you. Mm-hmm. You work in an office, you should be training. You work in fast food, everyone should be training. Mm-hmm. Law enforcement, you have no excuse not to train. And everything on the line for just deciding not to train.
And there's even the extent of, Adopt a Cop, very good program. But there's also, you train at your department for free, right? No cost to those officers. There's High Ground Jiu-Jitsu out in Lower Borough area every Friday morning. free training for police officers.
The
Stout.
Mac Factory was doing it.
Yeah.
Stout.
They all do. Or sorry, Matt Factory's in Lower Borough. That's the one that does that. I'm sorry, I mixed up the gyms. But they all have some sort of accommodation for police officers, and so you might have to travel a little bit. You might have to readjust your schedule a little bit, but the benefit is unbelievable, and how much more confident you feel in situations because of that. And I feel, to me, knowing jiu-jitsu is the best de-escalation you can do. Rather than you sitting in a training and this is how you talk to somebody. One, I do enough jiu-jitsu to know I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight somebody. I know how bad this can get, so we need to de-escalate this.
Yeah, like someone like Warren.
Yeah.
You look at Warren, nothing against him, but like he walks around very chill, very laid back.
Yeah.
He smiles always. Like you like talk to him and he's like, oh yeah, no, you know, like dude can murder 90% of the city of Pittsburgh if he so chose to.
Yeah.
But like there's people like that walking around. So like you know this. So when you go into a situation, you never take another man or person for granted.
Yeah.
You're like, hey man, I know this can always get ugly. So I'm going to approach this person from a place of respect, not of fear, of respect, because I know what I am capable of. I don't know what they are capable of.
Yeah.
It's a place of respect.
Yeah.
Imagine that. You respect the person you're dealing with. That crazy concept.
It's amazing how they feed off of that too, right?
Yeah.
You know, when you come in and you deal with somebody, and as soon as you start the derogatory, like the put down, talking to somebody like they're dumb, they naturally, we would get upset with it.
Yeah,
like,
we do get upset when people are like, you're just you're a dumb cop, because you have this badge and this gun. And then if you don't have any substance, because that's what you depend on, right? You respect me because I have this piece of metal on my chest and this piece of metal on my waist. And then when the person goes, fuck you, you're just another man. Guess what? I hate to break it to you guys and girls. You are.
Yeah.
You're no more special. Because, and this isn't a poop on law enforcement thing, but like, no. I think a lot of people need to hear this. You are no better than the person you're dealing with having a bad day.
Yeah.
You're not. And oftentimes we run across, it's far and few between, but they exist. And because of social media, it's made to see like it's the majority of the industry. No, like we're all human. We all make mistakes. Nothing is perfect. So people slip in through the cracks. Mm-hmm. So like you are no better than the person you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Like, and I never put myself above anyone. And I have my past to deal with that. You know, I have a lot of family members and friends who've dealt with mental health stuff, drug struggles, alcoholism. You know, like I've seen that firsthand, and I know how much it can rip apart a family. So when I approach these people, I'm approaching you like you are my brother, you are my uncle, you are my family member.
Yeah.
And guess what? If you're an asshole to me and I'm an asshole to you, that's the same way I treat my family. In this situation, it's out of love, because people look at that and be like, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, chill the fuck out, relax. Like, why are you swearing? Because that's how I would approach someone I love. That's how I would get through them in this instant, and that's what I've gauged this situation to be. It's not a place of malice; it's a place of compassion and love. People confuse those two. Like, yeah, I get worked up because I give a damn.
Yeah.
You know, and I see, bro, why are you, I get it. Your wife left you. You're pissed. You want to go put a brick through this dude's window. Now that involves me getting involved in arresting you. And what did you gain? Nothing. No. So chill. I get it. It's hard. It's hard. Everyone's experienced heartbreak or family member loss, and you want revenge. Let's take this moment to chill. You don't want me here. I don't want to be here. So let's both find a way to get along so we can figure out a solution so that I am gone and you are here, not in trouble, not in jail, and you get another day to figure things out. Let's both move to that common goal because we both want it.
Yeah.
That I said, you know how many people have told me thank you after I arrested them?
It is crazy how that does happen.
Like, and then I've been told, I said this before, I've been told I get them out, you know, take them to the jail. They turn around and go, bro, if you weren't a cop, I'd fuck with you. I'll take that. And I'm like, man, if it wasn't sketchy, I would probably have a beer with you. But given our situation, probably not the best idea. And then we laugh, and then we go our separate ways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, What do you lose from that? It takes some effort to give a fuck about someone. Cool.
Yep. No, I had one situation where a girl that I had arrested, I had bought heroin from her. And years later, like a couple
That's
years.
illegal. No.
It is illegal. As a police officer.
Yeah, undercover. Hold on, he's buying.
But I arrested her after that. And we, my family and I were out for breakfast. And they sit us down. I pick up the menu. And here she comes walking over. She's my waitress. And I'm thinking, oh, man, I arrested her. I've like put my head in the menu, and I'm like kind of gauging like what is she, like I kept my hat down and stuff, and she took our order. I could hear in her voice that there was no like, what do you want? Like she was very respectful to us, took our orders, and then I looked up and I saw her go out the side door. And I knew she was going to probably be going for a smoke break. Why else is the waitress going outside? So I told my wife, I said, I'll be right back. And I went back around to where she was smoking. And I said, you know who I am, right? And she said, yeah, I saw you walk in. I recognized you. And I said, yeah, okay. And I said, how are you doing? She's like, actually, thank you. She's like, since that has happened, I've made changes. I've got my daughter back with me. It was the best thing for me at the time. And that made me feel really good that if I would have treated her in the arrest aspect of it like she's just a junkie, to me it was just it's a game. Like you're playing the game to get your thing. I'm playing the game to try to catch you. We made our arrest. We're done. I think if I would have handled it more like personally, like she's doing this terrible thing, and I treated her. I actually went back in and told my wife like, I'm fine with eating here. I don't think she's going to do anything to our food. I think if I was that jerk in the moment, but me going back there and talking to her, and it was good to hear that there were some changes.
Adding a human aspect, because like at the end of the day, these are like, as much as we hate to think, like we could be on that other side. How many officers have been arrested having a bad day?
Right.
But it looks so much worse because he's a cop. Or she's a cop. They should know better. And that's true. We're held to a higher standard as we should be. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, everyone has a bad day. Mm-hmm. You know, I literally at work yesterday, I had this dude for two Deweys back to back. And I'm like, the first one, I let him go. The second one, I'm like, dude, I'm towing your car. Like, I'm towing your car. And he was going through some stuff. And I've dealt with him in other aspects. So I'm like, I really feel for this dude. And he's on the verge of like, changing his life, but I like now we have a situation. I gave you a break, you know, and I ended up arresting him. I'm like, I towed his car, arrested him. I'm like, look, bro, like I gave you the break. I get it. It was harmless in the sense of I pulled you over because you were swerving. You didn't hit anyone. There was no one on the road. But right now, like it's a problem. So I'm booking him, and the whole time I'm telling him, like, look, bro, like, you have to understand where I'm coming from, man. I let you go, and then now you go kill someone. Like, think of it like that. That's on me. Like, I don't go home, and none of this matters anymore. Like, I live with that. I allowed this situation to happen because I give a fuck about this job and what I do. Mm-hmm. So I let you go to not jam you up or ruin your life. You could take out an entire family on their way to school or on their way to a game, and that lives with me. Mm-hmm. Because obviously you didn't care enough to take heed to the break I gave you. So I showed you respect. You disrespected me. And that's fine. You don't owe me anything. But I hope you understand where we're at right now and why I got to do what I got to do. Yeah. Well, like a couple months later, I end up pulling him over because he like fucking went over a car. And this was like a couple of days ago. So when I say a couple months ago, he was arrested. And then I ended up pulling him over. And I didn't know it was him. It was a different car. And like I get to the window and it's him. And he's like, I'm like, bro, what are you doing? He's like, I'm stupid. He's like, I'm stupid. He's like, I got this job. I work for DoorDash. And I'm delivering food. And he's like, I'm delivering food. I'm working now. He's like, look. And he shows me the PBTs in the car. He's like, look, like I'm doing this thing. Like he's like, I'm clean. I haven't even had a drink. I'm in AA. I'm in classes. He's like, I really need this job. And like we get a certain time limit, and I was like going past it. That was stupid of me. I admit it. And I'm like, all right, I'll tell you this. You got like, obviously I'm taking up your time. I was like, I'm gonna run you. If everything comes back good, bro, go deliver that food. Do it safely though, because it's not worth you killing someone or you dying.
Yeah.
And he looks at me. He's like, thank you, man. Like, he's like, I appreciate you so much. I like, thank you. And I'm like, you're welcome. Like, we're not out here to like stack up numbers or jam people up. Or I'm like, I could have had like, when as soon as I saw his face, I'm like, he's like, I had that, like, he's gonna be wasted.
Yeah.
Dude's working. He's got a job. He's making the steps. I'm like, okay, like that was like, as much as bad as I felt for it, like it came with something.
Yeah.
He changed, and some don't. You live another day. Live to play the game another day, as they say.
Yeah.
So, obviously, we've talked about like the deficiencies in this training and law enforcement and stuff. How did your company come to be? Like, what made you go, there's a hole, and it's on me?
So when I grew up, my dad is a pastor. I know that my life should be a little bit better and showed a little bit more.
Always the pastor's
It's always
kids,
the
my
pastor-
guy.
Yeah, they always, pastors or police kids are the worst, right? So I decided to combine them all. But my dad, I grew up in church, and I was always realized how similar to police work, the dangerous people that we deal with, church is there to help people when they're going through problems. They're going through trouble a lot of times. I mean, you do have your regular attendees who understand that, a well-balanced physical, spiritual, and emotional health is a good thing, and so they're there every week for their spiritual health. But there's also a lot of people that, we call it jailhouse religion, right? Everybody found God once they're in jail. But there's people that are reaching out, trying to have some sort of connection to God and hope that he saves their life as it's spiraling out, and they show up at church. And I was there on several services throughout my life. It's not every service, but I was there where some craziness happened. And so once I started, especially on the SWAT team, I realized and then church shootings were starting to become more prevalent, unfortunately. And so when I started the company, I had helped several churches start teams and started kind of training them. And I realized churches need this.
I knew this.
Okay.
Why did I know this?
I don't know. Maybe because of...
I think we talked a long time ago before we started training. When did you start this?
So I started my official business in COVID 2020. I decided the dumbest decision was make a business, right?
So your primary focus was getting churches equipped.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I was really trying to, and unfortunately with churches, to try to get my business started, I would offer a lot of free training to churches. And I would call all sorts of Pittsburgh area churches. Hey, I'm putting on training. Where you came to do the vehicle fighting, there's a house attached to that. And the guy that lets me do that in his garage also lets me go into this apartment next door and do all sorts of like room clearing and understanding that kind of stuff. So I put on some training for some churches, like top-notch training. And I would call all these churches, and they would say to me, oh, we're well trained. Our guys are well trained. And I'm like, you have no idea. I know how limited police are well trained. And I guarantee your church is not. And it's not like someone's like, hey, I'm coming into church to kill some people. But since they're not so as trained as police officers, I'm going to give them a chance. Like, you need to be ready for certain things. So I started my company. That's what H.O.W. stands for House of Worship. So Know How Dynamics. It's House of Worship is the acronym for that How is. But that's where I focused my beginning, was on really starting to try to train churches. And once I started down the road of training them, I started to realize there's a lot of deficiencies, and you realize how much, like you said, where's the training in police work, right? Where is it? Well, most of the time it's on the job. Once you're in that car and you're driving around and you're learning, it's the worst kind of training in some ways, but you are being trained by backing up other police officers. And I realized the shortcomings with a lot of churches, how bad how low their training was. This isn't what people have dedicated their life to, so I understand, but I'm here to raise that. And so I've come up with a kind of like a 3-part series of training, and they can choose whichever one they want. I've had some churches call me and say, "Oh, we're good at everything. Let's do the firearms training." I'm like, "Okay, cool. We'll train them in firearms." So I take them to the range and train them in firearms. And while I'm training them in firearms, I'm like, "Well, what about this? What about that?" And they're like, "Okay, maybe we should bring you back for like what was normally stage 1 training." So that's kind of where it started. Really having that care and realizing the vulnerability there, and training them through those different things.
So is it still more centered around churches, or have you branched off into bringing in law enforcement? Because I know there was a few law enforcement officers in your last class but there was also civilians there too. Yeah. And like I like that dynamic, right? Because oftentimes the trainings I go to, it's all LEO.
Yeah.
And even there you find those issues of like, you're like, "You're on the job?
Yeah.
How?" We're doing a room clearing, and I'm just like, dude, I will never be like, I would not want to be in front of you in a situation. Or I do civilian classes where I'm like one of the only cops there.
Yeah.
You know, like having that mix I found interesting because you have people with the same mindset, with the same goal. It's different jobs.
Yeah.
But then you can have those dynamic conversations while we're doing it. It's like, "Oh, why do you do this way? And that's why I like the law enforcement classes too, because you're in a class of people who probably are choosing to be there, right? They're wanting to be there. You can pick out the people who are like,
it depends on what kind of training it is.
Pressure point training is probably.
But I mean, even though the trainings that that's one of the things I love about private citizen training, because they truly are putting their money in it. They're invested in it. Where like if I came up to you and said, "Hey, Ish, you're going to whatever training tomorrow at the back at the academy or back wherever it is," right? Like, and that's where, to me, I love training. Now I have no issues with cops. I like training cops that want to train, but like there was some opportunities potentially given to me, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to train?" And I'm like, "No, I don't," because I know that not every cop coming to my training is going to want to be there. And the last thing I want is to be up in front. I don't need an audience, but I feed off of people wanting to train. When light bulbs go off in people's heads, that's what drives me. That is what is like when you're, that's what this is. That really drives me. So when I have, the regular police officer sitting there on his phone, scrolling through, getting his 8 hours, of training, and he's not invested. He doesn't care. But I've mixed so I've turned down those ones where it's only police, because then it's going to be forced. But my courses are open to whoever wants to come.
No, that makes sense, because we're all like, let's say worst type of training, updates.
Yep.
Nobody is listening. Nobody cares. They're just there, like you said. They're checking the box.
You want to know how bad it was mentally out of the academy? So probably about 2009, I trained under ShivWorks, which you've trained under.
Yeah.
And my brother, who's not a police officer, but he likes to shoot, and unfortunately now he got into jiu-jitsu and passed me up, which I hated. I used to be able to throw my older brother around, but he trained, and he's incredible at it. But he told me, he knew I liked grappling, and he's like, "Judd, this is a course that is a mixture of grappling and shooting." And I'm like, up my alley, let's do it.
Bro, ShivWorks.
Top notch.
And what I love about it is you have to choose to be there.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's not like an organization, "Oh, we're going to make you go." That's not something you make someone go to, because it's so intense.
But that's where we're on our way. And he always does that Friday night, the 4 hours Friday night, then all day Saturday, Sunday for an open enrollment course, not a police course. That's like he's coming in next weekend to the range. I brought him in through Sean, and so it's Friday night, 4 hours, and that's when he does his muck training, and then the 2 full days. So my brother and I took it when it was at a gun range up in Beaver, and so I get off work, or my brother gets off work. We get in the car and we're driving up, and it says training starts at 6, and we're pushing it for time, and I'm like, look, my brother's like, he's a police officer from, at the time he was still a police officer in Mississippi. And my brother's like, he's a police officer, and I'm like, dude, don't worry about it. Like, and he's like, we're going to be late. And I'm like, if he's a cop, 6 o'clock means it really starts at like 6:30. And then we're going to be done at like 9:30 tonight. And then
you thought it was one of those.
That's because that was my introduction to police training, right? That's what I knew at the time. And we show up at like 5:50. And he already has everybody ready to go. I think he might have even already been doing introductions, and we walked in late. And I'm like, that was weird. Like, no police officer does that. So then we come in for day 2, and I'm like, Sam, we're going to be done. Like, it says 5, but we're going to be done at like 3:30. We were done at like 6. And then I want to say he might have, I don't want to be mixing my stories up, but I think he missed his flight because he wanted to make sure that everybody ran their reps and everybody got their, and I'm like, that opened my eyes to how training really, like, this is an instructor that is invested in his students, and that lit my fire for when I am training.
Dude, he is one of the people I try to emulate when I'm teaching, right? Like, when people say there's no dumb question, even me as an instructor, I get a question, I'm like, in my head, I never portrayed him like, that was a dumbass question. I don't think he has that ability. He just like,
very good.
His
yep, those fingers
the
going.
finger guns, and when he talks, and like, we're gonna go in, and everything's like purpose. Everything he says and does is with a purpose.
Yeah,
like it's calculated, and he can explain things so well. And when we actually hosted him a couple years ago, and then last year, law enforcement training. And I heard about his classes. I've seen his stuff online. I'm like, dude, I have never been pushed in training. I'm usually the biggest. In like the law enforcement training, I'm usually the biggest. I'm usually the most trained because no one gives a damn. And then I started feeling, meeting people like you and other people. And I'm like, okay, I'm starting to build this like network of guys who really are after it. And then everyone says like, oh, dude, Craig's class is like, everyone is on fire.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, and they're like, we had him for 4 days. He's like, it's 4 days, 10 hours, if not more, with an optional 5th day that I guess some like Israeli guys came.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, that's for them. And you can jump on because you're the hosting agency.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And then we get there, and these dudes, like, first thing they say is like, hey, we can't be on video or anything. Like, I'm like, I'm into some secret squirrel shit. Like, I'm like, dude, like from the beginning, everyone's giving their background, right? Like black belt, brown belt in jiu-jitsu, TAC operator, SWAT operator. Da, da, da. I'm like, I am the least trained dude in this. It's not even a room because he's explaining that we don't have mats. We're using God's mats. He's talking about grass and gravel, and then so I'm like, we go through this training, right? Like the first day. Dude, there's people bleeding from their forehead because of the mountain goat drill and all this stuff. He's like, all right, we're going to set up the murder wall. And I'm like, murder wall? What the fuck is the murder wall? Basically, it's a big circle.
Yeah.
And you get 2 people in the middle. It's like Fight Club.
Thunderdome. He always calls it Thunderdome. Yeah. In the open enrollment, he always calls it Thunderdome. 2 enter, 1 leaves.
Yeah, I don't think you can call it the murder wall, but someone called it the murder wall, right?
Yeah.
And you get into so you do this training all day. And then you get put into this fixed situation when you have the helmets, which we have bought for our department, and sim guns.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, sim guns? Dude, in close, like, that's going to hurt. I said that to myself. And then I'm sure he heard it because I thought it so loud. He's like, yeah, there's a consequence to every action.
Yeah.
And right here's where we're going to see those consequences. And he talks about, like, accessing early and all that stuff. And my first one, I'm on a wall like this, and the dude comes up, and it's a little Israeli dude. I think I can say his name now. We've met. He's out of the industry. Ofer.
Okay.
We call it. All 3 of them were Ofer, so I know they were lying. It was like little O, Big O, and then O for the boss, right? So little O, this little guy, right? But like the heart of a fucking lion. I turn around and I just boom get hit, and I'm like, dude, I'm like, oh, this ain't police training. That's literally, and I literally went into go mode, bro. We started going after it, and like, dude, I'm breathing heavy. I get him down finally, and I pull and I hold and I shoot, bam, 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 and I just keep shooting until the mag runs out. And he's not calling stop. That's another thing people don't realize. Like in police trainings, bow, shot you. Okay, situation's over.
Admin.
Yeah, dude, I'm blowing him up, and I remember I stopped. I look, and Craig's just looking at me. He's still fighting, and dude's still fighting, and I'm like, oh my god. I keep going. Mag's out. Dude gets, and I get in that mindset of like, oh, mag's done, training's done. No, dude fucking flips me, starts beating the bricks off me. I'm sorry, just brain shock. And I'm like, well, now what?
Yeah.
My gun is empty, right? I totally have put myself in a crutch with training because we end it before we should.
Yeah.
Right? How many situations have you seen online of officers, someone advancing on them with a knife, they unload a mag and the dude still gets a blow on you. Now what?
Yeah.
What? We just stopped? You ran out? No, now you go hands on. You're like, or 2-on-1, what I loved about his training was it was like beyond everything we've ever done.
Yeah.
It's like it's demanding. And then now what? Or someone gun jams, and then, because they're sim guns, they suck. Well, now what? You're still in the fight. So like, dude, I remember after the first one, I was like, we got 3 more days of this shit. Oh. And the scenarios just kept built. And then to the last scenario was 2-on-1. He's like, you got 6 seconds. You start on the ground. A dude starts on top of you. You have 6 seconds to get on your feet. If you don't get on your feet in 6 seconds, he sends a second attacker with a knife.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, I was against a black belt. And he literally tells the dude, he's like, don't play jiu-jitsu. He's like, this isn't to play jiu-jitsu. This is the real world. Use jiu-jitsu. Don't play jiu-jitsu. And I'm on the ground like, I have this black belt on top of me. If I don't get up in 6 seconds, I'm going to have the worst time of my life. It says go. I still have the videos. I'll watch them. I'm like, dude, how did I do that? But it goes to say, when you train so much, it's kind of like autonomous. It just happens. I just frame, and dude goes to pin me up against the brick wall, and he jumps for my legs. Like, literally goes down on my legs.
Yeah.
I'm like, thank gosh. Like, boom. I start stacking up, and then from right there, I pull out, and I shoot him 6 times in the neck. He still sends the second guy.
Yeah. You knew it was
Dude,
coming.
Dude, he sends a second guy, and
I
I close in. I'm trying to grab the knife. He switches it, and then the other dude's on my legs, and I'm just getting stabbed in my side. So then I grab it, and I just take them both to the ground, and I'm like, this is the only thing that can hurt me. Dudes are punching me and shit. I'm just holding this knife, and then he yells index. I'm like, I just got my ass beat.
Yep.
But that's how it can be in real life. What I like about his trainings are they're so realistic. You are put in that fight or flight mode. You are put in that, like, I may die.
Yeah.
And that's just a lot because of my conditioning or lack thereof. But like, I'm like, and then it's my turn to be the bad guy. I put the mask on and I can't breathe. I'm like, how the fuck am I gonna?
Can't see.
Yeah,
you can't breathe.
Dude,
you can't. Yeah. That's
tough.
So I've taken that course. I've taken ECQC, which is the open enrollment version. I've taken that, I would say probably close to 6 different times, just because of the amount of value that you get from it. But my brother would host them in Cincinnati. And so the one time I would go to I would always be like, hey, you got a comp slot. I know you get a comp slot. So I would find my way over there.
Got to get the in.
But I was at one of them, and a guy pulls in his vehicle loaded with thin blue line stickers all over the back of the truck. I mean, just like, if one's enough, like, this guy had 20 thin blue line stickers. And in the very beginning of the course, Craig's asking, and he was like, well, I'm just here to observe. And so he paid the money to just observe, but he's like, I might participate. And so throughout the course, he started participating more and more. But that ate at me. Like, just the mentality, the way that he came in, portrayed as law enforcement. And I was like, I went up to Craig, and I knew the systems at this time. And I was like, hey, the hitchhiker gone bad. I want this dude. And he's like, okay. like instantly. And I was like, okay, so I guess this guy might have ticked him off a little bit too. And the guy stayed involved. The 2-on-1 was the first evolution. And the guy was involved with my brother. And my brother didn't know jiu-jitsu at the time. And the way that he calls it out, he said, you know, Sam, you're the guy with the gun. And then he picks out 2 dudes, and he picks out this guy. And they handed my brother his butt. Like, I mean, he got... but that was good. Like, that was good for him to learn. And obviously, he's pushed from it. But, like, I wasn't like, oh, don't do that to my brother. Like, it was good for him to learn. So while they're beating on him, the way that it works, there's always, like, basically the up, down, and out. Like, now those 2, one of them becomes the guy with the gun. Wouldn't you know it, the police officer hurt his knee while he was beating my brother down. He hurt his knee. And I can't take the course anymore. Because he realized, like, my turn's coming. Like, at some point, my turn's coming. So I need to get out. That ate at me so bad because I didn't even get my chance in the car.
But it goes to show you, like, some of the people in this industry. And I am not nice.
Yeah.
I'm kind, but I'm not nice to people like this. Because you are doing yourself a disservice. Like, why? Like, you pay all this money to come to this class, and I don't know this dude, but I've known people like this, and these are the people who I took Craig's class. Yeah, oh, I've done it. It's like, you did not even participate.
Yeah.
But they want the accreditation, they want the affiliation, they want the I'm a part of. No, you're not. No. How many instructors I've worked with. And I'm just like, dude, if you're not into this, why are you doing it? My department needed someone. Well, pick someone else. They should pick someone else. Damn, that's how you feel? Yes, that's how I feel. I like you as a person. I think you're a shit fucking instructor because you don't care.
Well, that's what, the very first time I took it, he teaches that shooting from 2 position, the weapon retention position, right? Yeah. And
I'm like, he's like, more. I'm like, I don't think my shoulder has the...
I don't have the mobility there. But he taught the shooting from 2, and when he showed the grappling over the gun in that position, it made so much better sense to me than rocking out of the holster and turning. And so this was like 2009, like right when I was just on the SWAT team. And I came back, I'm like, hey guys, let me show you what I learned. Like, and an instructor, firearms instructor at the time, pulls me aside. He's like, hey, you got to stop this. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you're going to all these private courses and you're learning some really bad stuff. Like, you need to be careful. And I'm like, okay, I'll take it with a grain of salt. But he's like, you need to watch this. All right, whatever. He's like, you can't be doing this stuff. 2 years later, that same instructor was like, hey guys, let me show you something. I went to an NRA course. Let me show you what they're teaching us now. I'm like, shows shooting from 2. I'm like, get out of here.
Because
like,
the NRA is saying it now.
I was so mad. I'm like, 2 years ago, this was going to help people, and you wouldn't let me help people. Now you're coming in to, like, oh, that one ate at me a little bit.
It's like little subtle things, too. Like, he teaches you to put the
finger
pointer
registry.
the finger registry on the ejection port.
Yep.
And I'm like, this is...
See, I struggle with that, and... not that I would never but to me, that makes me compromise my grip so much for me to get it.
So, and he says it. He says, this isn't for everyone. This is just, and that's what I like about him. Like, he's one of the instructors you can be like, I don't really feel comfortable with that. Like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, why? You explain it to him. He gets on the ground. At that time he was doing our class, he had just got like hips or some sort of surgery, so he sent his other instructor.
Tore a muscle inside, dude. That was nasty.
So his other instructor gets down, and we work it, and he literally goes, you know what? For someone like you, that's probably not going to be the best way to approach that.
Okay.
He's like, this is what I would do. And he gives you and I'm like, oh my God, like,
yeah,
that's how it should be.
Yep.
You know? And he says, this isn't the way, it's a way.
Yeah.
And that's how every instructor should approach it.
But that's where from him I took the whole concept of like finger needs to be high and outside of the trigger guard. So even though I might not be all the way up in the ejection port, I am high on that. So I know that this is not going to be in like a negligent if something, you know.
I was hoping you said accidental. I was like, it's coming. I feel it.
It's a grade. Sometimes I got to be careful.
That's what's been said the whole time. And it's like, was it an accident? No, it was negligent.
Yeah, negligent. Yep.
What are your future? What's your future vision for Know How Dynamics, and where do you see yourself going in this law enforcement world. Don't tell me I have 6 months, 3 days, 2 hours, and 26 seconds to retirement.
No. So I'm satisfied where I am in the police aspect, the job that I do, with the different things that I get to do. I don't really see myself deviating from those too much. You know, that can always be changed.
That's awesome.
By my bosses. But that's one of the things that was hard. That was
By
hard.
my bosses.
That was one of the things that was hard for me was I always wanted to do narcotics and I always wanted to do SWAT. And so I had achieved both in 2013. And I'm like, okay, there's not really anything more that I like vision myself doing, but each aspect of it, I expand and learn. And in the SWAT environment, being now a team leader, I see where I now am trying to get guys to understand like how much more they can expand their capabilities, right? Don't just get on the team and stop. Now let's expand that. I don't geek out over, I'm not a gear guy. Like I don't geek out over it. I pick people's brain. What works for you? Okay, I'll use it. I don't do much on gear, that kind of stuff. But to me, I geek out on movement as a team and the doorway movement. How are you? There is a proper way to put your feet through that doorway so you have the room cleared quicker. It's not just go through that door. There's a very defined way to go through this door. And to me, that's where I geek out, trying to make myself, I'll nerd out on that kind of stuff. The tactics of clearing a room. You could ask me whatever gun you put in my hand, I'll shoot. I don't really care. You could, like when guys, what grain, like I had a guy that has come to some of my private trainings and he's like, my open enrollment trainings. And he said, what grain do you shoot? I don't know. One that goes down the barrel. I don't know. Like I don't, that's not
that
me.
Too. Same. Like I love guns. I love shooting guns.
Yep.
I do running gun. And then you meet someone who loves guns more than you, right? They want to I'm more at this than you, which is cool. Like this isn't my thing. Like I love defensive tactics. I love fighting and controlling people and you get your gun out. Now I love being in that mix.
Yep.
And that's the same thing. He's like, well, I'm using this many grains. How many grains do you guys, what's issued? I'm like, I don't fucking know what's issued. They give me a box. I give myself a box that says on duty ammo and I put it in my gun.
Yep.
Because it blows.
Yeah.
It
works.
It's attention. That's what it does what it's intended to do.
Yep.
Oh, well, how many feet per second does it come out of your Mark 18? I don't know. I know when I press my button and my dot's where I want it to go, it goes there, and it goes there very efficiently.
Yep. Yeah, that's how I am.
But I can understand because in the DT stuff, in the combatives, you're like, oh, what if we got this 2-on-1, and I'm like, this is a good one good thing to do, and I do nerd out, and then the people who aren't about that, they're just like, this is like, I don't care how I get, just tell me what I need to do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but you don't understand. I can't tell you what you need to do because everything is dynamic. Everything, like you should be reading the situation, like, and I'm that dude, and they're just like, so do I grab his arm or not? I'm like, it's not like that. It's not that simple. Like, so
there's times where I think sometimes Sean, when we're doing our training, Sean wants to tell me, just shut up. Because I'm like, where did you put your foot? Like you had your foot in a certain spot and it was preventing me from, but he's really good at instructing.
Yeah.
That.
So he's
but
like,
there's times where I'm thinking he's wanting to be like, Judd, just shut up and let's just roll. But there is that little, but yeah, that is where for me, when I started the company, you had talked earlier about like a woman with her kids needs to know how to do these things, right? People
needs to
know how, right? There you go. I like it. Thank you.
That better be the marketing.
But they need to know how to do these things. And how I try to explain it to people when I try to say why you need training is, are you outsourcing or insourcing your violence? Because if I live in your town where you're a police officer, right, and someone shows up at my door and is beating my door down or threatening my kids in the front yard, I can either insource that violence and handle the situation if it gets to that point. And a lot of times I think people feel like, well, that's why I just call police. Well, the reason police work is because they bring violence, whether they're using it or not. It's the threat of violence that is handling that situation. I might call Ish, and Ish shows up with all of his tools and his training and things like that, and he resolves the situation. But we know how long that can take sometimes. Your police calls are 5 minutes minimum.
That's
a really good day, right?
That's a good response.
That's when you're sitting up the street watching Netflix. But like so to me, I try to tell people, like, insource your violence. Learn how to be violent. There's nothing wrong with violence. The only thing that stops violence against you is violence. There has never really been a situation where you're beating my face in and I'm like, hey, sorry, please don't do this. And you're
Can
like,
we just get along?
right?
No.
So that's where I try to tell people, like, insource that. Insource so you at least have a chance of survivability, a chance of protecting your kids. And so that's where I've expanded it out to doing situational awareness. So like everything I do, I don't want you to just do jujitsu. Yes, I want you to start, but I don't want you to just do jujitsu. I want you to do it and keep going. And then I want you to do combatives and go to anti-fragile training and come to the car and learn how to do it in the car. I want you to keep expanding this and keep it going. And so my firearms courses, I think that I don't know how many other instructors in the area for everyday citizens do what I do, in the sense of I have a course that is, this is a pistol. This is exactly how it works. This is how you load it. And it's a very beginner course. And then my next course, this is how you would kind of shoot if you were starting to carry that gun. You want to carry this gun, right? Now you're carrying a gun. Get a good holster. Don't just go out and buy a name brand holster. And this is where to wear the holster. This is what kind you want to look for. Then once you get that, here's how to be an armed fighter. Starting to really work your mindset to more than just carrying a gun. And then I push it. I push that training all the way up to where I have people doing on barrel rooms, like live fire movement through barrel rooms. We do shooting in a car, because I think everyday citizens should know you just aren't shooting through this windshield and creating hits. Like, you need to know what happens to it. So they get a chance to shoot through. If they come to the vehicle course, they get the chance to shoot through windshields and see what their ammo does. And I tell them, bring your defense ammo, whatever grainage you want to, and your foot per second, right? But see what it does. I want to know that kind of thing. I don't need to know what grain it is. I just need to know what it does. And so that's where expanding that. So,
dude, that's fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
But dissecting those classes for people to come in where they're at, right? Like, I don't want to be a gunfighter. I've never held a gun.
Yeah.
Like, you can actually do more harm than good in a class like that with someone who's never even seen a gun in real life.
Yeah.
So having that chronological increase,
I've had 2 people so far sign up for every course. 2 people so far. They work the entire year through. Usually it's like a year the way I lay it out. And they've gone to every single course from in my class. And they're like, wow. Like, they see how much. And what I really like having that is watching that growth and expansion in that person throughout. And then just for me, the drive is to improve. So like, obviously, like, I'm very big into physical fitness. It's just something my dad instilled in me when I was younger. But some of my biggest gains, there's a friend of mine, she brought me into training down in South Carolina, and I train a group down there. But she has, since being friends with me, she's been friends with me since kindergarten or before then. But seeing her change her lifestyle and her health, and she like reaches out to me constantly, like, hey, I am off of medications because of my weight loss. That fuels me. I have other people that reach out on regular basis, like, hey, you inspired me to like lose weight. And that like, you were talking to, I think it was your mom. You said she said like from what you're doing, you inspired her to get back to running or whatever. And
My stepmom,
your
yeah.
stepmom,
Yeah,
like,
dude.
That feeds you. Whether you're like, you probably hate running just because of your size, right?
Well, damn, we're gonna throw me out there. Yes, I despise running.
Right?
I despise it.
But the fuel that gives you is, and now like one of the guys that went through all my courses, he now goes to Sean's anti-fragile courses, started jujitsu. I had a guy this past weekend tell me like, hey dude, like now he's friends. He found out about me through Ash. When I posted like they could come to my course if they just donated to Ash's.
Oh yeah, I did see you. Did.
Right?
Appreciate that so much
dude,
too. By the way,
James is a great dude, man.
Dude, look at him now.
Great dude. And I told him, I said, dude, quit posting videos with that thing hanging out of your neck.
I fucking told him, dude. Like, you ever heard a story where he like stitched his own shin or something like that? He was like working overseas and like messed something up.
Yep.
And he's like, well, I had to go see the doc, and I'm going to see the doc, and he's sitting there, he's getting ready to fix it up, and I asked him, like, can I do it myself? I want to try that.
That dude's insane.
Who would do that? That's Ash.
One of the trainings I took, he was actually in the course. I was looking forward to like doing it with him, picked his brain through it, but they made him the victim. And there was I try and do scenario-based training. I think that's the best. Doing scenarios is the best way to learn where you stand. And he was a downed officer, and they had a makeup set, and blood's like spurting up and out of it, and he sold it. Like, I mean, he had blood all over him, and he sold it. And bro, I get there, and it was like my mind clicked in that this is James. He's so squared away that like we're gonna fix this. Like he could be bleeding out and never have a chance. But I'm like, dude, I know this dude's heart. I know his fight. And I clicked out of the fact that he's playing a police officer that's shot and losing blood and not thinking. And I'm like, this is James. We got this. And I'm like shoving my fingers in the hole. And all of a sudden he picks up the red gun and points it in my face. I'm like, whoa, dude, like don't do this to me. Like it totally.
He's a motherfucker because he did that to me. We did a situation in the station.
Yep.
And he was down, and I like pulled my car up, and I'm like, I'm coming back, and I'm like, hey, where are you hit? Where are you hit? He's not talking. I'm like, dude, where are you hit? Where are you hit? And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, James, stop fucking around. Like, tell me where you're hit.
Yep.
But you lost a lot of blood. You're not there. And then like, so I'm like, fuck. I'm looking. I find it, tourniquet it, boom. And I'm like, he's like, oh, you're killing me. Oh, you're killing me. And I'm like, and in my mind, I'm like, all right, James, like, this is just training. Relax. But we put ourselves there, and then when I go to drag him, he's like, I got you. And he's like this, and he's like, he looks at me, and he's pointing the gun. I'm like, oh, man. I'm like, but that's stuff that can happen. He had just talked to us about this a couple of days before of like, hey, these are things to look out for. And I was so like caught up into his performance that I was like, and I was like kind of like, I'm not jaded, but I'm like, hey, this is a department in-house training, James. Like, let's chill out. But like, no,
dude's full speed
everything
all
the time. All the time.
And that's where, to me, my after action after that was like, it was very like my self diagnosis on that was I totally trusted James because I know his heart and I know his like he's in it, right? He's relentless. But I know that he's good. And so when he wasn't good, that was like eye-opening to me, like, oh, I need to secure a weapon no matter who it is. And I was kind of, in a weird way, glad that I screwed that one up in a bad situation because I would do the same thing. I could probably name you a handful of dudes that I would do the same thing. This is so-and-so, but now I know, like, oh, if it's ever that situation, I got to get that gun away because
it's nothing personal. It's, hey, I'm going to take care of you. You don't need to take care of yourself. Hold on. This is the one time you can just chill and relax.
Yeah.
But it goes to show you, man. So where can people, they hear your story, they hear this company, and they want to take some of your courses. Where can people follow you to get a little more information on Know-How Dynamics, what's involved, and how they can be a part of it?
I'm on Instagram. That's usually my best platform for Instagram's my best one for kind of keeping people updated on what I offer. I also do more than just what I offer, but I also post videos on there about situational awareness, like you said, you'll see YouTube videos where you're like, whoa, why'd that person do this? I break those down sometimes on my, depending on my time frame. You were talking about video editing. I'm the same way. It's crazy.
It's a lot involved.
So I'll post those videos
Especially
too.
for this dinosaurs out here. No.
Yeah, it was funny. I actually, my son, to get him involved, I'm like, hey, edit this video for me. How do I slow this down at this point? And it's amazing how much.
This is homework.
Yeah.
This is from school. Can you edit this video?
He knows. He knows that both me and my wife started her own business. And so we're kind of pushing that to him. Like, hey, maybe think about, and he does the typical, I want to be a YouTuber. I want to sell shoes.
Here you
right?
go.
And I'm like, okay, I'll support you in what you're doing. I'll make it realistic. And so now he knows, like, when he's editing a video, he's like, that's $5. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll give you that. Like, good job. Like, and
do you want to eat today?
well, there is that. Sometimes I have to, but, I post videos on
So $5 a video?
$5 a video. There you go.
Oh, that's the best pricing I've found so far.
Sorry, my ADD kicked in there. On Instagram at Know How Dynamics is where that's kind of where people can keep up with what I'm doing. And then if they're interested in kind of like the church training, I also do I go into businesses and do active shooter training, active shooter scenarios for them. And then I've started a program. It hasn't caught on much, but it's called Safe Travels. When people don't realize how unsafe being in a vehicle is, or being in a hotel. I laugh at like hotels. Like, my family members are in right now, and my mom was like, "Oh, they're staying here." And I'm like, "They're staying where?" Like,
No,
don't stay there. Have them switch here. But understanding how to because you're away from home. We can make our home very safe, but when we're in a hotel, how can you make that safer for you? So that's all on my website, knowhowdynamics.com.
Interesting. I didn't even know that. So we all learned something. Well, bro, I would encourage you guys and girls, if training is not your thing, take a look at it. Look at the website. Look at some of the things he offers, because I think everyone should be training in some sort of capacity, right? And like, people look at me because I'm big, and they think that means something. It's like,
Bench is over 300, I heard.
435 if we're mentioning it. I didn't bring it up. No, but it's what else, right? Because like, you can be fit, but what?
Yep.
Like, you need some sort of self-defense, combative, something that instills confidence in you, and then you're able. Oh, that was perfect timing.
My fault.
No, that was perfect timing. How did you know that?
So I was looking at the time. So I worked an early shift today. And so that was my alarm to know to punch out from work at the normal time that I get off.
Oh, perfect timing.
Yeah. Well,
everyone, first, bro, I appreciate you for jumping on the Relentless project. Check out Judd. Check out Know How Dynamics. This was a fire conversation. I think people, cops especially,
definitely
need to tune in and listen. And if you're offended by anything that was said, start changing some things, because I get offended when I hear some things. I'm like, that applies to me. I need a caveat. So again, I appreciate you for jumping on. This is the one with Judd with Know How Dynamics, and we're out.
Thank you, bro.
Later.
Appreciate it.